Welcome to the Body Talks podcast with me, Dr. Brook. I'm a chiropractor extraordinaire who speaks the language of the body, not to be confused with body language. Join me on this show as I disrupt current beliefs about where health comes from and how you can discover your greatest health potential without having to spend hours away from your life's work in order to do so. Because reaching these levels of health is possible once you learn how to carry on a dialogue with the greatest creation to ever exist, the human body. By tuning into the whispers your body speaks and addressing them, you avoid the potential damage that is created when the body begins to scream, allowing you to experience healing in a whole new way. This show will guide you towards true health so you can continue to change the world. Your body holds the answers. I'm here to help you discover them on the Body Talks podcast, starting now. Welcome back to another episode of the Body Talks podcast with me, your podcast host, Dr. Brook. And I am so glad you're here today. I'm very excited about the information I get to discuss and share with you. But really, I wanted to ask you first, before we get started, what it means to you when I make the statement, the body speaks, the body talks, the body is whispering. See, the question that is always posed underneath all of that is, if the body is speaking, if it's whispering, if it's talking, are you listening? So many times there's symptomatology or there's minor things showing up in the body and we don't take notice. In episode 2 of the podcast, I spoke about sneezing. And when you have that simple achoo and people saying, God bless you, that's really your body saying something to you. Did you know when you yawn, and of course, yawning happens right when we're feeling tired or exhausted, but a yawn is the body screaming for oxygen. The brain is like, I need oxygen. So your mouth opens up really wide and big to bring in oxygen. So the body is speaking and whispering in subtle ways. We just haven't been in tune to really listen to what it's saying or to understand how to decipher what those means, right? There's so many, languages. I speak English. I don't speak a lot of other languages. I know little bits of Spanish. My daughter's learning Spanish. And there's words that are used or statements that are made that I can't understand, but she understands. And so the body works like that. It's got its own language. It has its own communication style. And when we learn to communicate with it, when we learn to really tune into what it's saying and dedicate ourselves to kind of heeding or kind of, moving in closer when we feel those whispers, being spoken and seek to have that understanding, we begin to learn. But it takes time and it takes repetition. And, think about any time if you've ever learned a new language, what that whole process looked like. The human body is no different. And it's actually a known fact in scientific literature. You can find all this information about the body electric, right? We know from even our basic chemistry courses that there's protons, neutrons, and electrons surrounding different molecules or different, items on the periodic table, and different, things bind together based on donating electrons and connecting. So those electrons, what powers that? What powers the electrons to move and to, jump to another molecule or to, fly off something else? What happens, or how is that happening? Okay, so we're going to kind of go backwards a little bit, and then we're going to go forward, and everything's going to kind of connect together. So all that scientific literature is really sharing with us that the body has an electric signaling process, right? We've heard about electromagnetic fields. Some people are may know more about electromagnetic fields than others, but essentially there's good and bad electromagnetic fields. And it's important that we really seek to understand the ones that are protective to ourselves and the ones that are damaging to ourselves. And I'll talk about that in future episodes, but for now, just understand that the body has an electric signaling within it, right? That's how things happen. So there's chemicals in the body. There's different things that happen as a result of those chemicals being released. We've heard about neurotransmitters that come from the brain that really can change the entire chemistry of the body depending on if they're released too much or too little. These are what SSRIs are. You know, they help pull back the serotonin, like clean it all up from the synaptic processing, which is the gap between the two neuron cells. See, this is just kind of a brief overview on that, but essentially just understand that there is some chemical processing, right? That's happening there. There's electricity that's happening between neurons to neurons so that muscles can flex or muscles can extend, or you can move your mouth and your tongue and blink your eyes and do all these things that you don't necessarily think of in any conscious way. So it's important that we now know that there's an electric component, but also let's really dig into what is driving that electricity. What is driving it? We know electricity in our homes, we turn on the lights, we flick off the lights. You know, we don't even really, honestly, unless you're an electrician, really think about what is happening there. Well, what is happening at the electrical level? Sure, our bodies are electric. Great. I can, believe you, Brooke, I can get on that scientific literature showing that the body is electric. But is there more than just the electricity that's running through our bodies? Because honestly, what is driving that energy surge? What is making, those neurons to fire? Sure, we have those neurons to fire. And sure, there's the sodium pumps and, we need sodium to get that going, but there's a lot more information there. Keyword information. See, a lot of really new and exciting information or exciting research is coming out with the whole quantum physics world. Whether you believe that or not, that's not what I'm, trying to address here. I'm just wanting to speak about the fact that there is another layer of information that comes into the body. The body is getting information somewhere in order to know, hey, there's too much of this coming in and we need to do that instead, or there's too little of this and now we have to adapt in this way because we don't have enough to make these proteins. So where is that information coming from? Well, the body is a lot smarter, a lot grander, a lot more incredible than we've actually ever been taught to believe. Now, my understanding of the body and the work that I do is that there is an energetic component. There is an outside energy, a big biofield. The earth has its own energy field that, like, when imbalanced, or when we're in balance with one, we don't experience symptoms. Health is so new, or like is vibrant and well and exciting. But when there is off balance, when cells are not communicating to each other, when things are not happening in the body properly, or you're exposed to toxins and, environmental things in your area, mold being one of these big things, right? A lot of people are exposed to mold and start having lung conditions that they never even really tied together until they realize, oh my gosh, there's mold in my house or mold outside my home, and look at me now. So there are these components where we really have to factor in the whole energy of ourselves, how it relates to the world around us. But more importantly, I'm talking about the human body. See, the human body has its own energetic field. Nothing more to that, okay? It's its own energetic field, and there's information from the quantum world that feeds into the body. So if that's off, the body's going to be off. Well, what I do as a practitioner of DSA, and that's actually really what I want to talk to you about today, DSA, dynamic system analysis. It's a technique that anybody, willing to learn like that aspect of applying energy as information, as well as, or energy as medicine, energy information as medicine, with, the physical, biochemistry, you got your carbohydrates, fat, and apply those two together, the physical and the spiritual aspect. I mean, anybody can do DSA once you learn the proper quote unquote coding. Just to give a little bit of foundation to this, essentially the same way that a computer coder would code information into your computer system. We all understand computers. We may all not understand how the coding on the back end works, because these software developers, these people who have to develop all of the language that gets inputted on the back end, they understand that language. They understand how to communicate to the computer. DSA is a way to communicate to the human body field so that the brain and the body actually presents to you on the screen where there is issues, where there is stress in the system, where there needs to be some sort of change and update in order to experience health in a whole new level. Okay, so I'm getting ready to go to break here shortly, but I want to say before I do that it is important to understand that you may be presenting with one symptom or two symptoms or a whole list of different symptoms, but the priority from the body is very different. So all of these symptoms might be showing up, but the priority could be this. As an example, my elbow hurts. Well, my liver might be stressed out to the point that it needs to be addressed first before we can even address the elbow. So that is one thing in terms of how the body processes information, like with our outdated model of healthcare to our new dated model of healthcare, is that you can't just be chasing symptomatology or symptoms around, because that is not working. You need to be able to figure out, to communicate with the body, find out what it's saying, and address that point of stress. Because guess what? Sometimes if you deal with those liver issues, the elbow self-corrects. So on that note, I will be back in the second half of this episode to share with you more on dynamic system analysis and how it works and how it can help you get to the bottom of some of those health conditions you're facing. All right, welcome back. So as I was sharing with you, dynamic system analysis is a tool that practitioners or energy healers can learn to utilize to be able to take their patients, their person, to all new levels of health, whether that's physically, spiritually, emotionally, or mentally, or all of the above, right? A lot of times, especially in today's society, we have breaks in many of those different legs of health. And it's important to bring us back to our physical, spiritual, emotional, and mental health. So what is dynamic system analysis? essentially, like I mentioned with the computer example, it is a way to communicate with the human body that the human body can then understand. When you talk to somebody in their native tongue, they understand what you're saying and they communicate back to you. So dynamic system analysis, DSA, is a way to communicate with the human body, and the human body communicate back with you what the priority is. This is what I practice. This is not a static technique. And by static, what I mean is here's the body in a point of time. Here's what the patient is presenting with. It's, here's their lab report. They show up, da, 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 da. Lab reports are static. They're one measure of information at that particular moment. By the time you get the lab reports back, many things could have shifted in the body, because the body is constantly shifting all day, every day, minute by minute, second by second. Things are happening. It is intelligent beyond intelligent. Okay? So it is not static. It is a dynamic. It's in the name, dynamic. It is constantly evolving, constantly moving from, minute by minute. And as we're moving through the treatment protocols with a patient on the table, like the thing that presents as the priority will then say, hey, thanks for helping me out here. They go back, and they're good. Well, the next thing will present saying, hey, I have some problems here. A lot of times is you don't find this secondary problem until this first problem is addressed, because this secondary problem won't present itself until this is taken care of. So you can have all sorts of different things going on, but until you address this will not show up. Okay. The body is amazing in its ability to say, hey, waving the white flag, surrendering, I need help here. Okay. Dynamic system analysis is a dynamic system. It handles stress points in the body in the priority that it's seeking. No two treatments are going to look the same for individual people, nor are the individual persons. Your treatment with me won't look the same as it did 2 weeks ago, because guess what? 2 weeks has gone by. The body is responding to different things. It's important to really kind of just be mindful. Now, this isn't to say like, oh my gosh, I have to get, DSA readings like every 20 minutes. My body's changing. No. Because when I mentioned the body is intelligent, it is a self-regulating, amazing being. I don't even want to call it a machine. It's self-regulating incredibleness, right? The body is fantastic at being able to rebuild and remove stress. See, a lot of times is the body gets so stressed out that, and not stress that we think, we're like, oh, we got to pay the bills. The body doesn't deal with, like, of course, our thought process about having to pay the bills triggers the body to make stress hormones. But that's not the kind of stress I'm talking about. I'm talking about the stress on the body that the body can no longer adapt. The body is amazing at adapting. It handles things all the time that we don't even think about, and it adapts to those. But at some point in time, it can't adapt any longer, and boom, symptoms show up. And those symptoms are the body screaming. See, a lot of times the body was whispering to us, achoo, or taking a big yawn in for, some oxygen. I need oxygen. Different little things. And I'll go through more of the ways that the body speaks or the body whispers in other episodes, because I'm really excited to share with you guys more things to kind of tune into and listen to. And it's really fun going through this with patients. But anyways, it's important that we really understand that getting a DSA test done on you, or getting a DSA reading in how to handle those health challenges you're facing, whatever they might be, big or small, it's not something that I will say as a caveat, the chronicity of the condition. So if it's been, years and we're dealing with it, it's going to take a little bit longer to address. It's not going to be a one size, or one appointment visit fix. But it's also something that I don't want to give you anxiety about. You have to get your DSA, reading done every 20 minutes. No. You eventually start to regulate and adapt, and the body's like able to do its job, so that when you do your next reading, maybe 30 days later, like different things will present and you can kind of continue to improve on things. My mentor, Dr. Keith Roberts, if you got to listen to that episode, if not, head back over there and check it out. Amazing. But he uses the example a lot with patients in the office about, if you're an old jalopy, like you're not going to notice things, right? Like a little scratch, a little ding on the bumper or in the door, no big deal, because you're an old jalopy. You don't care. Like things, you're eating things left and right. You're just like, it's normal to feel fatigued after eating a big pizza. That's, an old jalopy. But as you start to improve and make changes in your body and in your health overall, physical, spiritual, emotional, mental, you literally start becoming a Maserati. And as a Maserati, dings and scratches and all that in the bumper are going to be more impactful. So you're going to eat a pizza like you used to do 2 years ago and feel crappy. That is the body saying, wow, like you gave me 91 fuel as opposed to the 87. I am feeling amazing. I'm able to clear things out. I'm able to function. I'm able to do all this stuff. So understand, dynamic system analysis really takes in the whole body approach to healthcare. And so recently I was working with a patient and doing some telehealth visit with him. And he was so amazed at the information that was presenting, that information that came out. And he's like, you got all of this from my intake form? And I said, no, I got all of this by really putting information into your system, through the testing protocol, and quote unquote, putting information, like essentially typing on the keyboard, hey, like, tell me what you know about X, right? And his body presented with this whole list of treatment stuff. And it's not a lot. Like, I don't want to trigger people and think, oh my God, this is like a huge protocol. And no, this is a treatment protocol to help relieve stress off the system. Maybe it could go a week or two. With the supplementations, it can go longer. But this is not one of those, let me take lab reports and then every 30 minutes, you're going to have to drink 4 ounces of this tea and drop her this and wait 10 minutes for that. And no, this is not one of those. This is literally one of those things you can put your treatment plan on your bedroom mirror, on your refrigerator, and do what you need to do in order to make that happen. This is, again, my target audience, people that I work with, although I have started working with people with a lot more chronic conditions, neurological concerns that they're not getting answers for. But typically I work with entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs are so known to not take care of themselves because they're building their businesses, and also to not go seek healthcare for any little thing or for those big screams, because it takes time away from their work. And if they are then go to see a practitioner and the practitioner is like, well, you need to wake up 3 hours in the morning or 3 hours ahead of schedule, and you need to do this and this and this. Like, who's going to be able to implement that? The great thing about DSA is it's not this crazy long drawn out, routine that you now have to implement in your daily life and try to figure all this out. No. So anyways, he mentioned that, you got all this from the reading. And I said, yeah, I got all this from, really tapping into your body, the energetic field around your body. And this is the physical treatment plan that it needs to help bring you to this level, right? To help you get to this level of health and beyond. And so, I wanted to share with you this story, this funny story. At least I think it's funny. I love sharing stories, especially, in practice life. So I'm a, physician. I work with patients all day. I am also a huge proponent of supplementation not being put into like stores and stuff like that. I actually don't like that. I think that it causes more harm than good. And a lot of people think that they're doing great for their body. And really, their body is actually becoming more stressed out trying to handle all of these either low grade supplements or even high grade supplements that aren't right for them. So that's one of the soapboxes I kind of stand on a little bit. And so in this particular case, I wasn't feeling well and I was just kind of exhausted and, kind of nasally feeling like my voice is changing, what's happening. And okay, before I say this, it's recorded in the time of COVID. I did not have COVID. This is not COVID, but I was expressing some symptoms. And I'm a practitioner. I do this, like work with patients all the time in understanding their body. So I do all my normal stuff, right? Drink more water, get more sleep, eliminate my sugar intake. I actually took my garlic in the evening, all of these things. And so I'm with my mentor doc and I said, "Hey doc," I was like, you pick up anything on me?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "What is it?" He, makes me do the testing. And I was like, "Oh, I know my system is feeling really drained." And I'm like, it came up supplementation in our testing. It showed that I needed some sort of supplement. So I'm like looking in our supplement closet. I'm like, okay, it says that we have the supplement. So I'm like, running through, looking at the supplements that we have. And I am going immediately echinacea, immune essentials, quercetin, vitamin C, zinc. This is my doctor brain rolling through. And he kind of chuckles. He because we do a lot of muscle testing. We do muscle testing with the patients in the office. I do muscle testing for people that I'm doing remote visits for. That's how, I'm able to get the answers that I get. But anyways, he does some muscle testing. He touches right into the center of my belly button with his index finger, which for DSA is a sign of like a yeast overgrowth, like candida, whatever. He does that. My muscle completely goes weak. So supplement I need is a candida supplement. And I laughed and I'm like, here I am, the person that is telling people not to take supplements so willy-nilly and just kind of, oh my God, and I'm about to start going down that road of, I need all this immune support. And all it was a candida overgrowth. And so now I'm taking the supplement and I've felt incredible ever since starting that. The dosing is very different than the dosing on the bottle. I do have to share with you guys that it is 2 in the morning and 2 in the evening. So I'm taking a total of 4 a day, 15 days supply. So that also matters. It matters that you take enough of what you actually need to rid the problem. But that was me individually. So here I'm like stuffy nose, like just not feeling good, doing all the things that I know to do. And I'm almost took myself down a road that I advise you not to go down. So that's why I say it is a funny story, because I'm not immune, to falling in those mental traps of society that it's, because medical, wisdom out there says you have to do X, Y, and Z, or, all of these gurus talk about this. It's important to listen to what's going on inside of you. Listen to your body. Nobody else. What was right for your friend or your best friend's brother-in-law, so-and-so down the line may not be right for you. Okay. So on that note, I wanted to just close by sharing with you or telling you, I do telehealth visits with patients all across the United States, even globally, utilizing DSA. And DSA, again, is a protocol that allows me to communicate with your body and get information back and provide physical, like step-by-step instructions on what you need to do to clear things. I've had amazing patient testimonials come through. I'm going to begin to start sharing those all over my website, also on social media. So if you don't already follow me or aren't connected with me, at Dr. Brook Sheehan, that's DRBROOK SheeHan. You can find me there. Also, just on my website, it also has all of my social links. I'll put them in the show notes also. And yeah, that's how you can work with me. The telehealth visits are, very affordable, and I really go into a lot of detail with you and really give you a good framework. This is not a, just touch and go type deal. This is a very cohesive type of work. So anyways, I love you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, I will talk to you later. Be ready to listen to the whispers your body is speaking. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Body Talks podcast with me, Dr. Brook Sheehan, where you're learning to pay close attention to the whispers your body is speaking so you can live a life fully expressed physically, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally without spending time and money on healthy items that aren't right for you. You're uniquely made, and your healthcare needs should reflect that. To learn more or how you can work with me, visit drbrooksheehan.com, that's Brook without an E, and discover your answers today.